Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Saturday Morning Support Group for Moms. I'm Brooklyn with two N's, and today we're going to just talk about how to get the most out of public school for your children. So we'll get into it. All right, so first things first. I've been in the education system this is year 8 for me. My first year was 10 years ago, and a lot has changed over the past 10 years. Even longer than that, since 09. The past 17 years when I graduated high school. It's not the same as it used to be. And it's hard to navigate with so many different changes and so much to do. Like, one thing I'm really starting to notice is everybody is busy and everybody is overwhelmed. Like, it doesn't matter what your lifestyle is. It doesn't matter what your schedule is. It just seems like everybody is busy and everybody is overwhelmed. And if that's not your story, I don't want to project and put that on you at all, which is an amazing thing. But our kids, at least in the school settings that I've worked in, mostly Title I schools, I'm not seeing whole school being on track or whole school progressing like they should or how we would want. So let's talk about it. Public school has really just become teaching to the test. When your kids go to school, they are being taught to perform well on the test. So with that comes a lot of memorization. With that comes a lot of just basic understanding. Full development of concepts, they're not grasping that. A lot of that, the school is counting on parents to do some educating at home as well. So the thing with school introduces, and they're expecting for kids to come home and actually learn and develop. That's not realistic, especially nowadays, especially when they change curriculum so much, especially math, the new way that they do math. People don't know how to follow along with that. So how can we as parents use what we got to get what we want? So let's talk about it. If your child attends a Title I school is just simply a lower funding school. There is something, especially if you live in the state of Georgia, called the Georgia Promise Scholarship. So you can Google Georgia Promise schools list. That is a list of schools that are quote unquote failing, right? If your child attended that school within that previous school year, so say for instance, this school year, if your child is attending one of the schools on the list this school year, first of all, you have to wait till the end of the year to see the new list, the updated list. But they can receive funding to either go towards private school tuition, which y'all, I'm gonna be honest, I'm looking at some private schools for my kids and tuition is $14,000 plus. The scholarship is only going to cover $6,000, if that. So you'll have to make up the rest. It'll cover transportation to and from a different institution. It'll also cover tutoring. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If your child is going to stay in that Title I school or going to stay in public school, your best bet is to get them a tutor to help them develop the skills that they're learning in school and to also teach them some new things. And then whatever you pay for that tutor, Georgia Promise Scholarship will reimburse you. So use that $6,000. If you like everything the way it's going, you like the teachers in the school, you like the environment, you don't feel comfortable sending your child somewhere else, that's fine. Use that money for a tutor. That's another option you have. There's also something called the Georgia Special Needs Scholarship. That's only for students who have an IEP or a 504 from grades kindergarten to 12. You have to wait to the end of the school year, see if your child qualifies, and if they do, that's some more money. Now, here's the thing with the special needs scholarship. They don't give you an outright amount like the Georgia Promise Scholarship does. So with that one, you have to compute the information into a calculator and it'll tell you how much you'll get. And that money you can use for next school year. For both scholarships, your child has to attend this failing school or Title I school or public school for the entire year. And they do what's called FTE, which is attendance that really counts, that they report, from October to March. October to March are the most important dates when they do FTE. So here's the thing, because I've seen some popular school psychologists who just dog out IEPs. Let's talk about IEPs. When I say that the school system pretty much is preparing your child just to take the test, at least public school, what I'm saying when I say that is, imagine we're at a cookie factory and somebody is just stamping out cookies. It's the same stamp for this piece of dough. That is what is happening with your child in public school. It is an assembly line and they are being stamped, shaped, molded to learn the same exact thing. That is general education, right? An IEP is an individualized education plan. So what that says is my child has this, this, and this going on. So they need this, this, and this accommodations. Now, here's the thing. This is what I've seen. This is what I know to be true. Yes, most of the kids who get IEPs in the school systems I've worked in, Title I, lower funding, with lower income comes a certain type of issues. We're seeing behavior issues. We're seeing a lot of home things that should be addressed at home not being addressed at home. Hey, Mr. Willie. So in the public school system, when you see those issues, you see IEP as a behavior. So when you think IEP, you're thinking slow kids or special education or special needs or behavior issues. That's not necessarily the case. Because let me tell y'all something. On the other side of town, where the income is a little bit higher, those kids have IEPs too, and their parents are milking those IEPs. Those parents are demanding they get everything they need. It's funny because I worked in DeKalb County School District. I grew up in DeKalb County School District. So we have something, those of y'all that are familiar with Georgia, we have something called Highway 78. And Highway 78 is the divider. And it's so sad, but segregation is still very real. Separate but equal, not really being equal, is still very real. In most parts of this country, it doesn't have to just be the South. It doesn't have to just be Georgia or Metro Atlanta. But north of 78, you see the income level is a little bit different. You see dads who go to work, at least the stereotype is dads who go to work that make a lot of money, and moms who are housewives who have nothing else to do but call lawyers and go shopping. So these folks will definitely contact their attorneys, definitely use their resources, definitely hire educational advocates that will help them understand their child's IEP and make sure it's implemented. Whereas lower of 78, we have those meetings. Sometimes parents show, sometimes parents don't. Sometimes parents don't read the fine print. Sometimes parents don't even know their child rights and how to even advocate for their child. So example, a kid with ADHD. Nowadays, they're saying ADHD is a medical issue. ADHD comes in three different forms. So it's inattentive, meaning you get distracted easily. The child could be sitting there quiet and ain't put nothing on the paper. That's ADHD inattentive, right? And then you have hyperactive. That's the kids that stereotypically people think is ADHD. They all over the place. They talking out. They jumping all over. They high energy, right? And then you have something that's combined. Not only are you hyperactive, but you can't focus for nothing. Now, let me tell you this too. There are some kids who can sit down and watch a full movie and not budge. But then the minute you crack open a book, they are not having it. Well, that's because they've been able to sit down and watch a movie for a long amount of time, meaning since they were a toddler or since they were a kid. Whereas nowadays, you try to have them open up or do a worksheet or something like that. They haven't been doing worksheets for as long as they've been watching TV. So, of course, they're going to feel more comfortable. And I'm talking younger age children. Of course, they're going to feel more comfortable completing this worksheet or watching this movie than completing the worksheet, because that's what they've been doing. Unless in your household, you have been introducing your child to worksheets, or you have been introducing them to educational tools, right? Another sad fact, y'all, and I'm going to get back to IEPs, is in the state of Georgia, I don't know what it is for other states, but in the state of Georgia, your child is not legally required to attend school until the age of 6. 6 years old for a lot of kids is first grade. So if your child isn't starting school until first grade, what are they doing to learn ABCs, colors, months, seasons, counting, shapes, like the basics, the very, very, very basics, their name, writing? What are they, where are they going to daycare? Because daycare is teaching these kids sometimes. Are they in an early learning program? And pre-K is free a lot of places. So you can put them in school for pre-K and have them go to school in kindergarten. I don't know why, but parents are not sending their kids to pre-K or kindergarten. And then on the other side, you have some teachers who are very frustrated with the kids in pre-K and kindergarten because they've been able to sit at home and do what they want to do for the first 4 years of their lives. So now they come into an institution and they have to sit down. They have to keep schedule. They have to be a part of routine. They have to follow rules. If these are not things that are implemented in the first 4 years of their lives at home, they are going to struggle with transitioning in school. So yes, you're going to receive a lot of phone calls from the school. And yes, the school, I'm going to be honest. I've seen both sides. There are some teachers who don't feel like being bothered and would rather just, hey, they don't have to come to school till 6. Yeah, just keep them on. And then there are some teachers that's like, no, mom, I need you to start implementing routine at home. No, I need whatever we're doing at school to be reflected in your home, which is a very fair ask. But I'm going to be honest, in my opinion, starting school at 6 is a setup. The very first time that you put your child in an educational environment is 6. They already doomed. They already doomed. Because at 6, in first grade, they're not teaching ABCs. Your child should know that. If you need to, Google. Use AI, use ChatGPT. What should my child know by the age of 6 by the time I put them in school? And sadly, you got to put by state. Because the things that 6-year-olds know in New Jersey, which is number 1 in the country, is very different from what they should know in Mississippi, which last time I checked was one of the last schools on the list. So make sure you're in tune with these things. Even education being different by states, very different. These are things that you should know. Make sure you're up to date on curriculum for your state, what your child should be learning, what your child should be knowing. Make sure that you are reinforcing that at home. A good rule of thumb I've seen is children should be doing 10 minutes of homework by grade level. So if they're in first grade, just 10 minutes. If they're in 5th grade, 50 minutes of homework. In addition to 30 minutes of reading each night. It's funny because I remember when COVID happened, before COVID, because remember I started in 2016. So we would see stuff and parents would deny, or come up with all the excuses about why their child is acting the way that they are. And them COVID videos start coming out and parents would be like, oh, teachers, I'm sorry. I did not know my child was like this. And it really make you wonder, like, are people really spending time with their children? Like, do you know if your child can read or not? Do you know if they can comprehend what they're reading or not? And that's on all levels. I'm talking about 7th graders who can't read out loud, who would rather pick a fight or start some trouble just to get out of reading or following directions. Do they listen to you? Or do you have to threaten them to listen to you? Because, at school, they can only threaten so much. And that's one of the issues I have, too, is I've worked in a school environment where the teachers was cussing out the kids because that's all they knew, because the mamas cuss out the kids. Or auntie, grandma, daddy, whomever the kids live with, all they respond to is cussing. And that's not healthy either. That's really a toxic environment. Like, the only thing you respond to is threats and cursing and just verbal disrespect. Emotional abuse. That's the only thing you respond to. You don't respond to anything else. So, IEPs, y'all. If you have any concerns about your child's education, whether it be speech, whether it be them reading out loud, and they're struggling to read out loud, get them an IEP for that. Because you never know if your child is dyslexic. Meaning if they see the letters backwards than how the letters are actually written. You never know what sort of learning deficits they may have. If it is ADHD, if it is just maybe some sort of spectrum. Autism get thrown out a lot, and a lot of people don't really understand what autism is, so they freak out and they're just like, oh, no. Y'all, the same way how people diagnose and label behavior and mental health is the same way they diagnose and label broken leg. If your leg is broke, there is a textbook medical term for that. Unfortunately, they don't say that, so they don't scare us with that, but we know what a broken leg is. If your child is hyperactive, inattentive, ADHD, sometimes people get thrown off by those labels. Please don't let the label and the name throw you off or discourage you from getting your child some help. You know your child at the end of the day. If you make them sit down and read to you, can they do it? If you make them sit down and get some work done, does the room need to be quiet? Do they need to be free of distractions? Maybe does the TV need to be turned off? What does that look like? But I'm all for IEPs. Now, I've heard before some people who aren't for IEPs, they're not for IEPs because, oh, my child got ADHD and the doctor prescribed medication and I don't want to put them on medication. And I was told that if I don't put them on medication, they'll contact a social worker. They'll contact defects, the school, they being the school. And I had defects in my house or CPS in my house. Here's the thing. It's unfortunate because when people talk, we automatically generalize and we automatically assume, and we really need more details. There's nothing wrong with being an investigator. There's nothing wrong with asking clarifying questions. So those kids who need the medication, who parents aren't giving them the medication, and now the school have to call defects, those are your kids that's flipping desks. Those are your kids that are disrespectful, at least that I've seen and I've witnessed being in those Title I schools, being in those public institutions where these kids have an IEP and their EBD, emotional behavioral disorder. That just simply means they do what they want, and if they can't do what they want, they go wild. They lose it. Lack of self-control is really all that is. And that we can be talking about an 18-year-old. We could be talking about a 10-year-old. It looks like so many different things. We could be talking about ODD, oppositional defiance disorder. That just means they not gonna listen. And it's so funny how people get creative with labeling certain kinds of behaviors. But I promise you, if you ask that parent, what happens when you ask them to do something? Like, what do? The kids with the issues that we talking about, that the teachers in the school is advocating they take this medicine, the parents don't know what to do either. I promise you, because I've had the conversations with those types of parents, and they don't know what to do either, but they don't want their child on medication because the medication they not eating. And they getting skinny, and they want them to play sports, and yada, yada, yada. If your child, and here's the thing with doctors, go to as many doctors as you can. If your child has a behavior issue, if the teacher is saying at school, your child is not functioning the way they should be at their age for this environment, you need to have a conversation with your child's pediatrician. You need to have a trusted relationship with your child's pediatrician. If you don't, there's several. Find one. If you're in the Metro Atlanta area, Dr. Sales, Dr. B at In Town Pediatrics, love them. I swear by them. Go see them. CHOA, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Every major city has some sort of hospital or something for children. Contact somebody from the mental health side of things, from the psychiatric side of things, and talk to them about what the teacher is saying, what you're seeing at home, and see what can we do to help this child. It's not always as simple as a diagnosis. Sometimes it's really just knowing your child and knowing what will best help them. All right? So, with the IEP, if they give you medication and they say, oh, ADHD, the only way that's going to calm them down is taking medication. It's funny because remember when, I don't know if y'all saw it, but when Cat Williams had one of his comedy specials way in the beginning, when he was saying how his child zoop, 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 like nonstop, zoop, zoop, zoop. He was hyperactive. And then when they gave him the medicine, he was a zombie. Maybe his dosage was too high. That's a thing too. Like, instead of just putting them on the dosage, you can definitely advocate for your child to be put on the smallest amount of dosage possible. And then sometimes they tolerance so low, you might need some lower than that. That's perfectly fine. But the whole point of the medication is to help your child slow down and grasp what they need to grasp so they can wing off at some point. If your child without their medication is still saying, acting, doing crazy stuff, it's not time for them to get off medication. As much as you want them to, it's not time. Listen, it's not time. And then if it's so bad to the point where the school is wanting to get DFACS or CPS involved, you might need to come to the school and sit with your child so you can see how they behave. You might want to ask the teacher, sign off on a document to have them record your child so you can see how your child is behaving. Because that's another thing too. There are some kids living secret lives at school. At the house, they quiet, they don't say, they don't do, but at school, they popping, they lit, they running the halls, they cussing, they wild. And I've seen kids. Parents come up to the school and they sit in the office and I'm like, hold on. You don't act like that. Why don't you cuss? Why you not yelling? Why you ain't sagging your pants like how you do around here? And then the parents are like, hold on, what? Oh yeah, because your child is very different when they in here than when they're around you. So sometimes it helps to get on the same page with these teachers. And let me tell y'all something. If you criticize your child's teacher in front of your child, if your child know that you don't like the teacher, that you don't care about the teacher, you just gave your child ammo to disrespect the teacher. You really just told them, I don't like the teacher, so it's okay for you to act whatever kind of way you want to act. Because that's exactly what the kids are going to do. And I'm seeing that a lot too. Like, oh, they don't have no respect. Oh, they don't have no respect. And the bold parents will let you know, oh, because we don't like her. She know I don't like that teacher. And that's why she has no respect. And now that the teacher knows that you don't like her, maybe the teacher is going to be petty, because that's a real thing. Or maybe the teacher is going to continue to give y'all a hard time until y'all grow up and get it together. Or now the teacher just going to wash their hands, clean to your child, and go on to teach the rest of the other kids, because I don't have time for you or your mom. So, and I'm not saying I advocate either way. I'm literally just opening up my experiences and what I've seen and what I know. And I'm hoping that somehow, some way, y'all can take the things that I'm seeing and I'm knowing, and y'all can apply it in it to help you. Now, there's something called a 504 plan. A 504 plan, or a 504 accommodations, or Section 504. You can Google those to see what that is in your state. And it's crazy because it varies by counties. It varies by school districts down here in Georgia. Like, I've seen school districts, all the parent has to do is just say, I suspect my child has something going on. Certain school districts will hold a meeting and give your child the 504. Other school districts, no. We need to see medical documentation, time-stamped, notarized, stating that this is what is going on. We don't believe it. We need proof. And it's so crazy because people sometimes don't take advantage of these handouts, these accommodations, not handouts, accommodations. So with the 504, I've had situations where a kid had come to school bruised up. What in the world done happened? I failed. You failed? What happened? I passed out. I don't remember. I don't know. After a certain line of questioning, oh, you have seizures. When were you and your mom going to tell us that you have seizures? So this child been having seizures all his life. Parent ain't contacted the school and said nothing to the school. You get an automatic 504 plan. Mom, fill this documentation out. We have to give them accommodations. And I was the type of person when I did 504s, because in DeKalb County School District, the school counselors do the 504s. Now, here's another thing. It's important to know if you're a 504 coordinator, if that's their only job, or if they are overwhelmed by doing a bunch of other stuff. Because if they're overwhelmed by doing a bunch of other stuff, it's going to show in your child's 504. It's going to show in their accommodations being implemented. So sometimes you have to stay on the school. Sometimes you have to advocate for your child's education, right? So I would come up with accommodations. Whatever the doctors say we should do, that's what we're doing. You have the nurse in that meeting. You have a school psychologist in that meeting. Some districts do it, some districts don't. You have teachers in that meeting. Everybody in that building who has to come in contact with your child will be aware of what they have going on. Now, unfortunately, I've seen some parents that are like, I don't want them to be handicapped. I don't want them to be labeled. I don't want them to be treated special. You should. You should. Stop trying to make your child like everybody else, because they're not. They're different. And if your child has a special capability or something different going on, something unique about them, it's okay for you to advocate for them to have an education that will suit them and accommodate the specialness that they have going on. I don't know why, but sometimes parents will be in denial. Sometimes parents will put up a fight about what their child have going on. No, it is okay. It is okay, because eventually our mindset should be shaping and molding our children to be responsible adults. That's the goal. That is the goal of parenting, shaping and molding our children to be responsible adults. Now, when they go to work, if they got EBD in elementary and they flipping desks and acting crazy in elementary, and then that continues through middle school and that continues through high school, they gonna need that plan when they get to work. Or else they gonna lose their job. We know a lot of adults, a lot of us, we got cousins, family members, whoever, can't keep a job. They always got something going on. That IEP should have followed them to work. It should have followed them to college. They should have had some more accommodations. They should have continued therapy. They should have continued whatever work they needed to continue to help them navigate life with this diagnosis. If your leg is broke, I'm not expecting you to run. I'm not expecting you to walk. I'm not even expecting you to scoot yourself sometimes. You're going to need help. In order to heal properly, you're going to need a significant amount of help. Specialized help. It's the same thing with your child's education. If they have behavioral, emotional, academic learning disabilities or issues or things that just stand out, concerns, whatever you want to call it, you are going to have to make sure they get the treatment that they need so they can be successful if you don't want this to be something to follow them long term. And then there are some things that are just going to be long-term issues, like seizures, like ADHD. That EBD and ODD eventually turns into bipolar disorder. And here's another thing. Unfortunately, sometimes kids are brought in this world And we haven't done a full deep down background of everybody in the family. Meaning, you seeing emotional behavior issues, you as single parent mom, and you like, I don't know why he act like this. Maybe the daddy act like that. And it's funny because I literally just had a conversation with a mom about that before, and she was like, I think, his dad's folks say he was diagnosed with such and such when he was a kid. And everybody like, hold on, wait. So you ain't know that before you had the kid? Listen, I say this too all the time. Know who you messing with before you mess with them if you gon' do it unprotected. Before you take your chances and shoot the dice on a child coming in this world, know who you laying down with. Know everything about their family and their genetics and what's going on. Because if it ain't ADHD, it's probably diabetes. It's probably high cholesterol. Know who you laying down with before you laying down. Because your child will be a product of what's going on. I remember a certain family member saying somebody in our family when they was a kid used to bang their head on the wall. And I thought lightly of it. I didn't get the full story. I didn't understand the full details. But now I really wish I knew, like, why did that person bang their head on the wall? Like, what did they have going on? Kids in households where they're experiencing domestic violence, their nervous systems will not be regulated. There's a little boy I know in school jumping off the walls. He can't sit still for nothing. Well, his mama getting her tail whooped for any and everything. So of course he's not going to be calm, because it's not like dad is locking mom in the room and whooping on her quietly. He's going to hear the sounds of his mama getting whooped on. He's going to hear the sounds of his daddy yelling, fussing, cussing. Yelling, fussing, cussing, that disrupts my nervous system, and I'm a whole adult. I am a big aged person. Let's think about the little aged people, what that do for them. What that does for a small person. And not only are you hearing yelling, fussing, cussing, it's happening in your home, in your safe space. So of course you're going to act chaotic because you're being groomed and raised, and the little baby flower is just blooming in chaos. So that chaos is going to rub off on them. It's going to be hard to advocate for your child and their education if you're not taking care of things on the home level. If you don't have a village, you need a village. It's a parent I know, and I feel so bad for her, but she got so much going on. And I'm just like, man, where is your village? And unfortunately, she don't have one. So as a mom, as an educator, as somebody who's seeing both sides, I can empathize with both sides. And I find it very hard. So if you don't have a village, there are places like this support group. There are places in the community. Parents to Parents is a really good one. If you Google that, Parents to Parents. There are so many different support groups on social media. Once again, having a conversation with your child pediatrician. This is what's going on. Do you know anything about support groups? Do you know anything about moms meeting who have children with autism? Do you know anything about moms whose children have behavior issues who are meeting? How can I attend those groups? What can we do so we can help our child? Use these resources. I know another parent that's like, I just have so much going on. I just can't. Sometimes the great sacrifice for your children is going to be having to carve out time so that you can create a conducive environment for your child to grow. Trauma, poverty, violence, chaos, inconsistency is traumatic for a child, in case you didn't know it. Children thrive in routine. Children thrive with schedules. When y'all all over the place and no 2 days look alike, there's no schedule, there's no routine, there's no structure. That's traumatic for your child. Because they don't know what to get. They don't know what to do. So now that creates a child that's all over the place and can't focus. And let's be honest, because we know adults who have issues. And you wonder, especially those single people who are dating, why you dating these folks, and they come and they show up presenting all kind of issues. It started in their house growing up, continued through elementary school, continued through middle school, continued through high school. I remember talking to somebody, and I actually met their high school counselor, and I was like, oh yeah, were you such and such school counselor? And they was like, oh, he was in school. That should have been a red flag. It wasn't, but we need to know people holistically. Not just who they say they are, not how they look, not what we see on paper. What your mama say about you, what your grandma say about you, what your daddy say about you. Oh, there's no dad? So there was a lot missing, not just a father figure, because people think when the dad is not around, a father figure is missing. No, that's a whole side of a family. Especially if that family isn't active, that's a whole side of a family that's missing. And we ain't gonna get into their qualities. We ain't gonna get into their personalities. We ain't gonna get into what they bringing. Because everybody ain't stand up and everybody ain't character. So sometimes them not being around is a blessing. But for the sake of these kids, they need a village. They need quality structured people that's going to be around them. And I hope that you are getting quality structured people at their school. It's okay to shadow a school. It's okay to even tour a public school. It's okay to have conversations with people and say, the folks that work there, would you send your kids here? Those are fair questions to ask. Those are fair things to need to know. A lot of schools too have like open enrollment, or they have something to where your school, because kids have to go to school where they're zoned. And they have different lottery systems or lists to where your child can go to another school, but you have to apply. Not only that, you got to make sure they're going to be at school and be at school on time. So if that's going to be a super sacrifice that you know you're not willing to commit to, they're going to have to go to homeschool, unfortunately. Because you have... So here's another story about the public school system. Public schools are graded. When you look at schools' rankings, when you look at performance, all of that, they're looking at student attendance, behavior, referrals, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspensions, write-ups, etc., and academics. How are they performing as far as their grades on report cards and also standardized tests? So if you send your child to another school and they gonna bring down the school numbers, that school is gonna get them out of there. Now, that's not fair. That's not right. But what are you going to do to make sure that your child is on time and attending school every day? They coming on time and they staying the full day. Because that means a lot. I have a relative, they went on a trip in the middle of the school year, in the middle of the school week, and I'm just like, you know attendance gonna call you. You know they gonna file a report with the social worker and probably get defects involved or probably get the court system involved for truancy. Children have to go to school each and every day and be on time and stay all day. Because guess where they're going to end up one day, hopefully, if they're successful? Work. And they're going to have to go to work when they're scheduled and be on time for that schedule. So let's start training them to have those healthy habits now. That's attendance. Behavior. I don't want to put up my middle finger. But behavior. They are going to have to do whatever the rules, the policy, the protocol, the procedures are. They're going to have to do the same thing at work. So it's better to go ahead and get them acclimated now in elementary school and middle school. High school too late. If your child has always had behavior issues their whole entire life, their whole entire school, and now you get to high school and you're trying to help them, I'm going to be honest, I feel like it's too late, but maybe something can still help. But pay attention to them phone calls in elementary. That's behavior. When the teacher call you and they say this, and this going on, okay, in your professional opinion, what do you think we should do? Okay, let's set up a meeting to see if they qualify for an IEP or a 504. Let me have a conversation with my child's pediatrician to see what's really going on. And be real, be honest. You don't have to tell them people your business, but you know if you struggling at the house and you not there because you got to work and they being raised by the TV and they being raised by other kids or they being raised by the neighbor or whomever, y'all, they're going to struggle. If rules aren't being enforced at home, of course they're going to show up at the school and act however. So let's not be in denial when it comes to that. Let's be honest with ourselves and get the help that we need so our children can have structure in the home environment, can have a healthy, safe environment. It's funny because whenever I take my kids to the doctor, they always ask, is anybody being abused in the home? No. Is home safe for the kids? Yes. If you're afraid of CPS getting involved in your household, something is going on in your household and you need to correct it. You need to get some help and fix what's going on. If you're afraid that defects is going to get involved because of what's going on in your house, something needs to change in your house. If you can't be open and honest about what your household looks like, that structure, that routine, and you embarrassed, you ashamed, it's okay, but get some help so that your child can thrive. And then those academics, they got tutors, they got after school tutorial. Some kids get rejected from after school tutorial because they don't focus in school. They don't do what they're supposed to do in school. So there's no way that a teacher is going to be okay with your child in school all day, every day, struggling, not paying attention, not doing what they're supposed to do. And then now after school, I'm about to sit up here and fight with you. They're not going to accept that. So that's where the behavior comes into play. Same thing with attendance. If your child don't come to school, of course they're going to struggle. Of course they're not going to be ready for the test. Because when I say they teach for the test, we're going to step 1 here, step 2 here. And they just building on to prepare your child for the test. So if they miss this and y'all not making it up at home, or they not going to after school tutorial or before school tutorial or something on their own or on your own, this step is missed. So now when we build it on, it's like math. You start with adding and subtracting. Then you start with multiplying and dividing. Okay, now let's throw in fractions. First we doing whole numbers. Now let's do fractions. Okay, now let's do decimals. Okay, now let's throw some letters in there. If your child did not grasp single digit addition and subtraction, the rest is history. If the foundation isn't set, the rest is history. If your child comes to school not knowing letters and sounds and phonics is sounds. If they don't know that, when it's time to actually read words, that's not happening. When it comes time to write and put things together, that's not happening. If you're not reading to them, you're not teaching them how to read, explaining things, that concept is not going to happen. Another thing I see kids struggling with is comprehension. Meaning you can read something and somebody can ask you the basics. The Little Red Riding Hood story. Who was the villain in that story? That's easy. The big bad wolf. Why do you think he was a villain? That requires you to think. You can't memorize that. That's not something you can just come off the top of your head with. You have to think for that one. And a lot of our kids struggle with comprehension too, because we don't have questions with them that expound upon their understanding of things. Here's another thing that I didn't learn until I was an adult. Authoritarian parenting styles will suppress constructive thinking, will suppress creative thinking. Meaning, if you whoop your child for everything they do, all they gonna know is right or wrong, black and white. They won't know that there's a gray area in the middle. If your child gets in trouble for asking why, now I'm trying to teach my child the difference in my household too, because I get it. We grew up, why? Bah! You don't ask me why. There's a difference between go clean up the kitchen, why, versus we have to take the trash out, why? Or why do we have to put it in this one? Or why do I have to put the recycling in the recycling bin or the trash in the trash bin? Or why hasn't daddy been home? Or like, there are some things that we have to start having deeper level conversations with our kids so that they can grow up to continue having deeper level conversations. Excuse me. So, child, I know I'm saying a lot, but I really hope that this helps somebody. Of course, I'm going to clip it up, but I really hope that this helps somebody because I'm saying a lot, but y'all, my heart really is going out to this next generation of kids because now I'm seeing firsthand what the issues are. And it's unfortunate because the schools will be like, it's the home, it's the home, it's the home. And then home will be like, it's the school, it's the school, it's the school. Let me let y'all in on a fun fact. It's both. It's both. If the first 6 years of that child's life, we are not establishing educational foundation, behavioral foundation, characteristics, quality characteristics, then when they get to school ain't, I say this all the time too, especially being in the elementary level. School, the way your child is at school is nothing but an indicator of how things are at home. Your child come to school, line. Somebody in that house, line. Your child come to school, can't sit down, can't sit still, can't function. It's like that at home. Or somebody in the family was diagnosed and had the same thing going on. And it's not, sometimes parents can feel shame or judgment. Don't accept those feelings. Take what you have and do the best that you can to make a better future for your child. That's life. Take what you have and make a better future for yourself. You mess up, you make a mistake. Okay, harp on it just for a little bit, but don't stay there for too long. Take that and keep going. All right? So, academics, make sure your child foundation is set. I am having the hardest time right now because my oldest is about to prepare for kindergarten. And I want her in private school. But that private school tuition, that number is beyond my means. Seriously. And I'm thinking of all the ways and I'm praying for all of the help to make a sacrifice and get some sort of help for my child so that she can be able to go to this private school. Because kindergarten, that's the basic. That's the foundation. And it's funny because my husband is like, well, what about high school? I ain't even think about that. I just need her foundation set. And I'm seeing already reading comprehension is going to be an issue because I struggle with reading comprehension. I struggle with understanding things and seeing things. I was very concrete and I'm seeing my daughter is the same way. So I already got her the IEP. We about to update that bad boy and get some accommodations in there. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to go to private school and I'm going to have conversations with her teachers about the things that I've been seeing. And I'm going to have conversations with her pre-K teacher as far as what I need to take from pre-K to kindergarten so we can make sure we're building a bridge and we're continuing to grow. My daughter is very smart. Very, very smart. Everybody says that. Everybody knows that. She's always been super advanced. But we need to keep her there. And we need to keep adding on to that. I don't need her slacking off at 5. I need her to keep going. I need her to keep being stronger. So I need y'all to do the same thing. If your child is in elementary school, Get the foundation down packed now. If they cannot read and write and they're in elementary school, they are going to struggle in middle school, high school, and in their adult lives. If they cannot do basic math, mental math, they are going to struggle in middle school and high school. If they are having behavioral issues in elementary school, they are going to struggle in middle school and high school. And if they come to school whenever y'all feel like, maybe y'all late, maybe you checking them out all the time, if attendance is not a priority and they don't go to school, they not required by you in the household to go to school every day, all day, they gonna struggle. Let's set our kids up now. And middle school is not too late. I really believe you can try to reel them back in middle school. High school, they gonna be who they are. They gonna be who they are. Hopefully some mentors, somebody can pour into them and shape them and mold them. Because I'm gonna be honest, in high school, depending on where you caught me, some folks definitely counted me out too. There are a lot of high school teachers that's like, you ain't gonna amount to nothing, you ain't gonna be nothing, you ain't gonna do nothing. That's a very limited way of thinking. However, the main reason why people say that is because you got a lot of pouring and dumping to do to fill this child up to prepare them to be successful in high school. It's almost like life insurance. You get a life insurance plan, the younger you are, the lower the premiums you're going to have to pay. The later in life you get life insurance, they going to tax you. It's the same thing with your child's education and quality of life. The earlier you pay attention, the earlier you buy in, the better. The later, the more the cost. The more the cost. I have a lot of concerns. It's funny because when I first got in 2016, autism, I saw a significant amount of students with IEPs. I saw a significant amount of students diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Look it up and get to know what it means. Because let me tell it, all of us are on the spectrum somewhere. Some of us are high functioning. Some of us are low functioning. Some of us can communicate and speak. Some of us cannot. Some of us struggle with interacting with others. Some of us don't. It's really social functioning. Where can I pause? Oh, I need to pause. It's really social functioning and everything that's going on with that. But now I'm seeing a lot of speech issues. I'm seeing a lot of speech issues. And that comes from not having conversations with your kid very early. Not baby talk, but adult talk. And them watching a lot of TV and not doing a lot of reading. So make sure you are reading with your children and you know how they read. I'm going to wrap this up because my sinuses are starting to act up. Make sure your children are getting adequate sleep. Sleep is so pivotal for children. Regardless of the age, make sure that they are getting some quality rest. 8 hours plus. The younger they are, is more. Like, I want to say 6 and under, it should be 10 hours of sleep a night. They should be getting 10. From birth to 6, 10 hours of sleep. 6 and older, I would say about 8 or 9. But make sure they get a quality sleep, because I didn't know this, but the pediatrician put me on game. When your child does not have an adequate amount of sleep, they will exhibit behaviors that look like ADHD. When your child on them tablets and on the phones and watching TV and with all of these devices, they're going to behave a certain kind of way. When they're consuming dyes, people, it's so funny, like, child, being a generational curse breaker, it be so many fights that I have to go into. Like, every battle is a battle for me. My kids cannot consume dye. If you read the ingredients and it has blue, yellow, red, they can't have it. Maybe for Halloween, they'll get one treat that's like that. But the sugar content is high, they cannot have it. Look at them cereal boxes. They got dye and high sugar content. Kids eat Cheetos for breakfast. Hardcore food for breakfast. Be careful what you feeding your kids first thing in the morning, because that's going to predict the rest of their day. That's going to indicate the rest of their day. And I get it. Everybody ain't got it. You got to make do with the best that you have. Your kids should be eating fruits and vegetables with every meal. Quality, wholesome fruits and vegetables. Not no fried okra or greens with the meat in it. Nutrition is key. At your child's school, what are they feeding them? Are they eating processed food? I worked at a public school, craziest thing ever. They did not use the kitchen cooking utensils. All they did was microwave food. So them kids eating processed food all day, every day. Processed food. So now when certain schools I work at, oh, y'all back there cooking. Oh, y'all back there cleaning. Oh, okay. That's good. Because every school does not do that. Does that matter to you? Do you know what your child is eating? Do you let them pack their own snacks to go to school? And it's funny because I was talking to one of my coworkers about it, and I'm like, man, this child packed Takis and yogurt and all candy and junk. And she like, that's like my son snack box too. I just don't want to fight with him about what they eating. Here's the thing. If all they consume is what you bring in the house, then stop bringing garbage in the house. My kids won't be introduced to Takis by me. My kids won't be introduced to McDonald's by me. We don't eat that over here. We don't do that over here. No. I be into it with my mama and them all the time. Stop giving them fried stuff. Every meal need to be fruit or vegetables. They don't want to eat vegetables yet. That's fine. Fruit. And not no fruit cocktail that's been sitting in syrup. I'm talking about real raw fruit. They love apples. They love oranges. They love strawberries and grapes and blueberries. Blueberries? Yeah, introduce them. My son loved mangoes. I didn't have a mango until I was an adult. I really didn't like blueberries until I was an adult either, but I wasn't introduced to it until later on. Or my oatmeal, them Quaker oats. That's when I was introduced to blueberry, and I was like, nah, I don't like the purple pack. Pink pack only, or the yellow pack for the bananas. But no, make sure you are introducing your children to quality. And the parents, the grandparents, the aunties, the uncles, the people that's raising other people's kids, please pour into these kids some goodness, some quality, so that they don't grow up and go on to contribute to society negatively. Like, thank you, Tisa girl. Welcome. But seriously, so I'm going to wrap it up. If you just not catching me at the end, I'm going to just give you a quick summary. If you're watching the reclip, here's a quick summary of all the things that I said. The public education system, especially Title I, is pretty much an assembly line that is stamping all kids to be the same. You either going to college, you either going to trade school, you're going to get a career, or you're going to sit in the house, or you're going to jail, or you're going to military. Those are your options. What are you shaping and molding your children to do? Are they going to college? Do they know that for a fact? And does everything in your household prepare them for that? Are they going to sit in the house, at your house, living off of you? And what is shaping and molding them and preparing them to be like that? Are they going to work? And are they ready to go to work? Are they going to go to work and stay with you? Or are they going to go to work and take care of themselves? Because we know what taking care of ourselves look like. Are they going to go to trade school? Those are your options after your child finishes school. Are they going to finish school, or are they going to get the GED? Those are the options, right? Schools are graded by 3 things. Attendance. Are the kids coming to school every day that they're scheduled to come to school? And are they there on time and leaving when it's time? Not checking in late and leaving early. That's a big indicator. Schools, you had to sit before a judge about attendance. Because guess what? One day we want them to go to work and we want them to have good attendance. We don't want your child losing a job when they grow up and they're adult because attendance is poor. 2, behavior. Do your child go to school and act like they're supposed to act? Or do they go to school and they're reflecting what behaviors are going on in the home? Make sure that you are getting an IEP if you need an IEP. Get a 504 if you need a 504. Have conversations with your school, with your pediatrician, your child's doctor, to understand why they are acting the way they are acting and get them some help. What is going on in the house? Are they raising themselves? Maybe it's time for you, mom, dad, grandma, auntie, uncle, whomever, to get you some help. Have they lost somebody? There are some things you have to share with the school so the school can help you. And then there's some things that you got to keep secret, personal, because you don't want no judgment. But don't let judgment keep you from making sure your child have a quality education and that their behavior is on point. All right? And then academics, their report card grades, their testing. What type of grades do they have? Are you even checking their grades? Y'all, I done had conversations with parents that don't even know how to check their child grades. You should know how to access your child grades. I'm talking about their grades right now. Report card time is not the only time you should see grades. You should know your child grades. Have conversations with your child teacher too to understand what deficits. Okay, can send home some work. And sometimes they do send home work samples, but send home work samples so I can see where my child is. I got a 4th grader right now. This little boy is into any and everything, but can't read and write to save him. It's not too late for him, but he definitely gonna need a whole lot of help. More than what they offer in that school. So if the only time your child is learning is at school, they not doing no homework at home, you not finding homework worksheets. They got at Walmart, different stores, they got educational books for grade levels. Get your child the workbook for the grade ahead of them and see if they can do that. And if not, then go to their grade level. And if not, go back a grade level. If not, go back a grade level so you can see where your child is. It should not catch you off guard that your child have learning issues. It should not catch you off guard that your child is failing because they just don't have it. It should not catch you off guard that they're not good at test taking. Here's another insight. Here's another tip. That test anxiety is a real thing. If you struggle with taking tests, more than likely your child struggle with taking tests. Get them to 504 and get them some accommodations. Get them some extended time. Get them some frequent breaks so they can get a break during the test. So the test can pause so they can get some extra time to finish up. So that way, because when I'm taking the test, I'm looking at the timer and I'm panicking looking at the timer. Extended time would have saved me. Remove the time so it's unlimited time. There are some tests, y'all, the test can read. If your child struggles with reading, the test will read to your child. I stay giving my kids them accommodations. I stay helping them out. Because there are some people who are born with it, they got it, they don't have to struggle, they good. And some of us, we gonna have to scrap to make sure our children get quality education. And if that means giving them some accommodations that's going to help them, by all means, advocate for them. Get the educational advocates in there. Some of these schools, I'm going to be honest too, your child is supposed to have a one-on-one, your child is supposed to have a para in the classroom. The schools are understaffed, that para is covering classes. That's a lawsuit that you can win. Either that, or if the school is not doing what they said in that IEP they supposed to do, they have to pay for your child to go to another school to get the type of education that they need. That's everywhere. That's all public schools across this country. So make sure that your child and tell your child, look, this what's supposed to be happening. If this ain't happening, let me know. Make sure that they get everything. But then there's some parents too, they just looking to sue. So they do any and everything so they can catch the school slipping. And don't pawn your kids off like that and use your kids like that. The whole point is to make sure they're getting quality education and folks are doing right by your kids. That's the whole point. If your child has migraines or sickle cell or seizures, they can qualify for intermittent schooling with their 504. They can qualify for homeschooling with their 504. So what that means is they still attend the school that you have on record, but a teacher comes to the house and will teach them. So that's for the kids who spend a lot of time in the hospital. That's for the kids who have issues, serious medical issues. Work with your school so you can get those accommodations. Hospital homebound. Matter of fact, I've seen teachers go to the hospital and teach those kids. Some children's hospitals actually have teachers on staff that teach those kids from the hospital because they have those sicknesses and those ailments. So make sure that y'all are aware of that. Make sure they get quality sleep. Make sure they're getting quality nutrition. Make sure you are raising your kids to be responsible adults. That's it. That's all. Work with the schools and make sure you are getting what you can out of your child's education. Nothing should be a surprise to you when it comes to your child and their education. Nothing at all should catch you off guard. That's it. If y'all have any questions, comments, or concerns, DM me. If you need to know more, if you need some more help, some more resources, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm doing this for us. I want the best for us moms. I want the best for us. I want the best for our children. Love y'all. Y'all take care. See you again next Saturday morning.